What's going on? Welcome to the DCD podcast, episode number 19 or something like that.
It's 19.
It's been 4 or 5 months.
It's been a while, man. We were in the middle of the NFL season, the middle of the NFL regular. I want to say we were like week 8 or week 9.
And we're currently in the legal tampering part of the NFL season.
Yes,
he starts in a week.
the tampering is definitely real this year. I can't believe that.
Now.
I mean, there's like handshake deals and handshake trades already. Actually, like Joe Flacco's not technically traded, but he's going to be. Case Keenum.
Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Case Keenum, where did he get traded to?
Washington. And you had a great tweet about it, about what is Washington's obsession with mediocrity.
They're obsessed with mediocre quarterbacks.
It's a tough league, man. It's a quarterback-driven league. They say it all the time, probably about 10 times a day on Fox and CBS. But it is a quarterback-driven league, and even the average ones, the slightly above average ones, like the Case Keenums, they get paid, and they get paid handsomely.
Then you have some mediocre quarterback from Washington that gets paid fully guaranteed contracts that are extremely expensive.
Well, I thought they had a really good deal going with Alex Smith. It's just the injury. The injury caught up with them, and I don't really know that there was any way they could have planned for it. It was kind of a freak incident. It was probably one of the ugliest injuries I've seen since the Theismann debacle way back when.
It happened to the day, I think 30 or so years after. It's some weird number. It was the same exact day.
Yeah, it was a little bit
against
eerie.
The same team.
Yeah, a little eerie. Nevertheless, welcome back to the DCD podcast, guys. I know some of you guys missed it. Most people didn't, but I know you guys have been asking for it. So me and Andy decided we would get back together, record an episode of this, see how it does, and go from there. So, Andrew, what have you been up to lately?
Well, in the past 4 months, I quit my job, got my job back, moved an hour away, still working at the same job, and commute an hour a day. And that's basically my whole life.
And there's more.
Is there more?
You're going into film school.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to film school. I did get accepted to film school.
That was the most exciting, like when we were catching up, that was the most exciting thing for me. I mean, there was a lot of exciting stuff, but like with your eye for film and your creativity and all that, I think film school is a natural fit for you. And it's something that I feel like you could probably get very motivated around, and like I always tell people when they're going to school, especially college, if you're going to a trade school, it's a little bit different because it's not such a long haul usually, but nothing wrong with trade school. We need more tradesmen in this country. Anyway, if you're going to a 4-year university, go into something that you're passionate about, because that's going to keep you going. That's going to make you to where you're like, hey, I got to finish this, because my sister's going through that now. And like when I went to school, I wasn't passionate about what I was majoring in, and that's why I didn't finish. So
I'm going to be the 20-year-old freshman. Dude,
it doesn't matter, man. Like when I went to college, there was a lady, no lie. She was going back to school to get her, and I really admired her for this. She's going back to school to finish her degree, and she basically had to start like second year in, and she was in her 60s. And this lady had a full-time job and a legitimate career, but she was doing it for her. And like I totally admire that. Like it's such a great thing. So
I'm Van Wilder.
Nah, dude, you're not quite there, because like the thing is, you don't look old for a college freshman.
Everyone I work with thinks that I'm like 24.
Nah, I think
like even you say it on stream. Like I know, I act older than I am.
You're wiser beyond your years. I would say that, but physically, appearance wise, you haven't aged horribly.
Yeah, if I got rid of this, I would look younger.
Yeah, you definitely would. So congratulations to Andy on that. It's a good update. Yeah. So for myself, not a whole lot of change. I'll be honest with that. Still working the same job. Been working that job for almost a decade now.
Still streaming Madden.
Still having a hard time getting to July. I guess we'll talk a little bit about Madden later. But doing that, and doing vlogs on the channel now. Those have been pretty fun to do. It's something new, something fresh, something exciting.
I apologize for that.
Andy's iPhone is going off. I don't know why.
I have an alarm that it's bedtime, but
oh well, I'm sorry to keep you up past your bedtime. Right now,
I stay past it every night.
Right now, Andy would be drinking a nice glass of chalky milk and getting ready for bed. Yeah, iced chalky milk.
Don't forget the ice.
So I mean, kind of the same stuff. You can still check me out on purpleswordfish.com, direct you directly to my YouTube channel, but nothing's really changed there, and things are good, man. Like, I can't complain. It's been a good year for me so far. 2018 finished up pretty strong. So, overall, pretty good stuff.
If you had to guess the percentage we're already into 2019. To the day.
Oh, to the day? I mean, at this point, we're probably be about 26, 27%, right?
It's 18%.
18%. We've gone through 3 months.
Yeah. According to the
Twitter.
According to the Twitter that I follow, the percentages, all the.
Maybe because February. Oh,
I mean, we're only 2 months and 7 days in.
You know what, dude? I was thinking that it was April 1st.
Nope.
That we were in April and we're in March.
March 7th. My birthday is in exactly 1 month from today. Not when this is coming out, but.
See, April doesn't freak me out because I've already done my taxes. I'm such a Ned Flanders when it comes to that. I'm like,
April,
January.
I'd go all the way to Bowling Green for orientation. I have to take a math test at some point between now and then. A placement test. It's fun. College is cool. I'm gonna buy Bowling Green hot rod tickets. The minor league baseball team there.
It's a good time, man. It's a good time. Way back when I was a younger man, and by younger man I mean a preteen, the Chicago Cubs had their Double-A minor league affiliate here in Orlando, the Orlando Cubs, and they played at a little tiny. It was historic when they demolished it. It was built in the early 1900s. It was called Tinker Field, and the field is still there, but the surrounding structure is gone. And I tell you what, man, it was always a good time as a kid going out there and watching minor league baseball. And I became quite the fan of, minor league baseball. And I found myself actually, even though I was a Marlins fan at that time, I found myself kind of watching the Cubs more when they were on TV and going, oh, I know that guy. And, I remember watching him play. So you kind of like became I guess you could say like a foster Cubs fan, which is kind of weird.
Where I live, used to live, I live an hour away now. We have the Paducah Chiefs, which is a Ohio Valley Baseball League team, summer baseball team league. They have one of the nicest stadiums. I don't care what people say. Brooks Stadium is awesome.
Yeah, a lot of those minor league parks a lot of them are historic, and then the other part of it is, they're usually smaller venues. There isn't a bad seat in the house, and it's just a better way to watch baseball. To me, like, a lot of times when I watch minor league baseball, I kind of feel like it's the closest you can get to watching baseball in the dead ball era, because if you look at those older stadiums then, like, it was a lot more of like an intimate experience. Whereas, like, as time went on, we got these massive 70,000 seat stadiums.
To remake Polo. Have a minor league team play at Polo Grounds.
Polo? Oh, geez. Yeah, that was everybody's favorite field to use in MLB The Show last year. Anyway, so moving on. First topic. I've kind of talked about my channel a little bit. I'm not going to bore you guys to death with more stuff about my channel. It's kind of the same stuff. Madden, other games when I can find time for them. And now I'm doing vlogs. But Andy, what are you working on creatively?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Yeah, I thought about playing MLB The Show and posting it, but I've nixed that idea for financial and time reasons.
Yeah.
And then I have no idea. Like, every once in a while, I'll be like, I should make there's this video I've been wanting to make for a year, but every time I want to make it, I only want to make it for a day. And it's a huge project. AKA a Hellraiser retrospective to go through every Hellraiser film. and dissect them.
That would be so huge right now. I know a guy who's doing that with video games, and he blew up. He's got almost 50K.
And then also kind of wanted to do like a kind of small sports documentary about 2 days in September or something, or October or November, where the most insane college football game ever happened, and the next day the most insane NFL game happened. It was LSU versus someone in college. LSU, Texas A&M. They went to 7 OTs. Insane game. They scored more points in OT than they did in the regular game, regulation time. And the next day was the Chiefs-Rams game. And just, insane time in sports.
Yeah.
And I thought about doing like a sports documentary about my fandom of the 49ers and how I lived through the 2015 offseason.
Yeah, that 2015 offseason was pretty rough, bro.
A team going from the Super Bowl to, or first off, losing to 2 muff punts, then losing to a Super Bowl, then losing to your biggest rival, and then losing the entire team off of free agency, retiring, them being arrested, etc., etc.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick downfall for a team that I thought was going to be around for quite some time. Well, man, but, if you end up making any of that stuff, I know I'll watch it.
And then it kind of fades away.
Well, I don't know, man. I miss your content. That's really all I can say. And I know there's a lot of other people who miss it too. So
I did, however, help Bengal make a video.
Really?
I don't know if I'll be mentioned or anything or what, but I helped them a little bit. I'm not gonna. Well, the video should be out by now.
Oh, okay.
But it has to do with NFL free agency.
Well, that's pretty cool, man. Bengal's a good guy. He's got that outlaw thing going on right now. It's.
I called him out there in DMs. It's like, you guys gonna actually post content on Outlaw? And he was like, we just started a month ago. And I was like, yeah, you could do like trivia or like a podcast or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think that right now, based on the very, very, very brief conversation that I had with him through text in my chat, basically. So it was me talking and him explaining this to me in text in one of my live streams.
Yeah.
I think when you start something like that, it's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even imagine, dude. If there's anybody who's gonna pull it off, it's gonna be him.
Yeah.
But it's gotta be over. I wouldn't even know where to start.
I would be down to do like a channel management role with the team, but I doubt he'll invite me to the squad. I'm not gonna ask.
Look at this, dude. Andy's like name dropping, then like low key applying for a job that may or may not exist. I'm half expecting you to like have a resume printout behind you on the printer.
I have a resume. I have a review of a movie we're going to talk about later. By the way, we're reviewing the movie we're supposed to review 4 months ago.
By the way,
I have an oopsie and a correction too from the last episode because I listened to it on the way here.
Oh, sweet.
we said several times we're like, we'll do this next week. And we did it. So oopsie.
I think, what was the name for that segment? Wasn't like, oops, we made a mistake. Here's a correction.
It was only that you did it.
Yeah. So, cool, man. Well, like I said, I hope you come back in terms of content or maybe get that job with Outlaw, channel management or whatever. That would be cool. You'd be good for that. But I also think that, like, there is something to be said about you as a creator. There is a lot of positivity that comes out of it. So, moving on to the next topic, we're going to keep it on video games here. I just wanted to talk a little bit and pick Andy's brain on this about the most recent supposed AAA game that came out, and that's Anthem.
Okay.
Well, no. We're going to talk about Apex Legends in a moment because that's a topic you wanted to discuss. But, like...
Yeah.
So Red Dead came out, and to me, like, Red Dead...
Last episode was the week after Red Dead came out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so, like, Red Dead came out, and it kind of, like, reinvigorated the idea to a lot of people that you can come out with a AAA game at $60, and it can be massively successful, and that the idea of a AAA game isn't dead. and it may be becoming a little bit rarer. But Anthem, I think, is a really good. And to go back a little bit, I feel like these are two things that we would have talked about if we still had the podcast going on at the time.
Yeah.
But Battlefield, the most recent Battlefield, like what a nightmare. Within a couple weeks, that went from $60 to $30. It was already being cut down. Fallout 76 is another really good example of something that was supposed to be a AAA title. And before you knew it, it was in bargain bins and being sold BOGO. I mean, even the Xbox One X bundle, the Fallout 76 bundle got cut, slashed to $100. So people were taking advantage of that just to get the hardware.
Yeah.
So like Anthem is kind of the game that I felt like ended up in the middle, and I just wanted to get your take on it. Like, do you think that these big budget games, because some people are saying this could be the end of BioWare as we know them.
Yeah.
Do you think these big budget games are getting harder to make? Because Anthem, thus far, the sales have been pretty disappointing. And even if you look at the player count, it's a little bit more encouraging than the sales.
Yeah.
But even the player count's pretty low by comparison to a game like Destiny 2.
You know, it's bad game.
You played it?
No.
Okay.
But I have friends that don't like it, and I know several people that are huge Destiny fans that don't like it. It's just like, you know, it's hard to compete whenever you have some small company like Epic Games make a game for really cheap, and it's better than yours.
Are you talking about what game are you referring
Fortnite.
to? Fortnite.
Or like Apex Legends was pretty cheap to make.
So to me, like
they were like, I mean, I know, I hate people remaking stuff and not making new things, but the Resident Evil 2 remake wasn't a AAA game, but it's great. It's a good game.
I would agree with that. I really didn't think about, when I put this topic down, I didn't really think about it, but in a way, if you're Anthem, even though Anthem has a little bit more of like an RPG element to it and things like that, and it is kind of a loot shooter, you know, like, hey, go through, I get some loot, kind of like Destiny. At the end of the day, it is a shooter.
Yeah.
So like some people are going to look at it and then they might play, you know, they might only have room for one shooter, right? So Apex Legends is free. Fortnite is free. Free to play initially, at least.
Yeah.
And then Anthem, $60 entry fee. I mean, it's kind of like,
I'm not saying AAA games don't have their place. It's just you can't make a AAA title that's super similar to other titles that are free, and people aren't gonna play them. But like AAA single player games, like Red Dead Redemption 2, still have a place because cheap companies can't just make an immersive experience like that, or like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey.
yeah.
Like Epic Games can't make an immersive game 20 plus hours of content with thousands of side missions. Like that, I mean, I guess that's where AAA games should go.
Which is interesting because a couple of years ago, everybody was lamenting the death of single player experiences. Yeah. And yet lately there have been a number of titles, and I'm thinking of the most
Spider-Man
recent,
sales was insane. God of War sales were insane.
the newest Wolfenstein game. I know it didn't sell as well as they wanted it to, but it did sell, and it was just a single player experience. Yeah. And they had no interest whatsoever in doing multiplayer. Why tack it on? Yeah. You know, why tack it on to a great game like Wolfenstein or Doom? You know,
I feel like Wolfenstein wouldn't have multiplayer because Doom has multiplayer. And if they did, they'd be very similar, and they'd be competing with themselves.
Yeah, and I really even feel like with the latest Doom, even though there was a multiplayer function, I didn't feel like it was as fleshed out as other games. I felt like they really put an unbelievable, and it was a good thing. It was a positive thing. I love Doom, the most recent one. I'm looking forward to the newest one coming out. But I felt like they put a lot more time and care into that single player experience, whereas in the past maybe they hadn't done so. So, you know what's interesting, and I guess it'll be a good segue. And Anthem, I hope it works out for him, because I would hate to see BioWare go bye-bye, but
I have a friend that max leveled Anthem in 2 days.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I've heard. I think you were actually telling me that his friends were like, "Wow, you just over leveled." So, and what's funny? You mentioned that it reminds me of vanilla Destiny 1. You could so quickly just blow through all the content, and then there was just really nothing end game going on. And I think that was the biggest criticism that I saw of Anthem before it even came out. People playing it in EA Access and saying there just really isn't much going on in the end game, and that's concerning to me when I'm about to plop down $60. So I do hope it works out for Anthem, and I do like that BioWare had a very vigorous commitment to try and rectify these issues that were identified day one. That's positive. Not every developer does that. I'm looking at you, EA Tiburon. But what's interesting is you put Apex Legends as the next topic here, and I'm thinking about the guys who made Apex Legends. Aren't they the same development team that made Titanfall?
The same development team that made Mob for 2.
Okay. So the guys who made Titanfall, I don't know if many people remember Titanfall, because the first one was an Xbox One exclusive, and then the second one was, I think it was multi-platform.
Yeah.
But neither one of them did significantly well. I remember them. I bought Titanfall day one, and I liked it, and it was a good game, and I thought it had a lot of really cool stuff in it.
It didn't have a lot of density.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, and it was kind of a little. There were some things that were a little bit hard to understand for somebody that didn't really know what was going on with Titanfall. You drop somebody into it, they're like, "Why are all these bots running around?"
I got bored because there's like 3 mechs, and there's like 2 guns. Like there's 2 assault rifles, 2 SMGs, 2 LMGs, 2 snipers, and they never like added anything.
On its face, it was a good game with a good concept, and it was a lot of fun to play, but it didn't do well.
The second one added single
here
player.
they go and they do something totally different. Granted, there are a lot of things in Apex Legends that really remind me of Titanfall, but at the same time, so like at the same time, they went with this different approach. They went free to play with loot boxes, and they seem to be doing well with it. I think you were remarking the other night on one of my live streams that it's the most watched or viewed game on Twitch at the moment.
Not anymore. Fortnite took
it back?
No, let me explain.
Okay.
If you look at the top 3 games, it's League of Legends always. Like, it's always competing. Fortnite and Apex. Apex is barely lacking behind Fortnite when there isn't a top streamer streaming it. But whenever a top streamer streaming it, it blows Fortnite out of the water.
Okay.
Like, Fortnite has more top streamers constantly streaming it. Like a Daquan or a Tfue. But Apex only has a few big guys. And then when they're not streaming it, it's still near the top, but it's not like the most dominant game.
Well, they're they're doing well for themselves though.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like 127,000 concurrent viewers at all times.
Well, good for them, man. Good for them. So you put this topic on here about Apex Legends. Like, I haven't even played the game yet. Yeah. Have you?
A ton. I've played the game so much. It's basically all I play recently.
Any thoughts on it?
It's great. I love it. As a person outside looking in, what's your thoughts on it first?
So I feel like it's the perfect game for a number of reasons. So the number one thing is the gameplay looks fair, balanced, and fun.
It's super smooth.
And I feel like the gunplay in the game, from what I've seen in terms of just watching people play, I don't think there's bloom in this game. Okay, there isn't, because there isn't Fortnite, and I feel like that kind of differentiates it doesn't differentiate. That's the wrong word to use.
Yeah.
It nominalizes the skill gap in terms of gunplay. I realize that there would be some person who would come in and be like, "You're wrong, Alex.
In Apex,
Fortnite is about building. It's not about gunplay."
If you don't get third teamed, which for a person that doesn't play battle royales as much, and I'll explain it to the viewers, third team is whenever your team battles another team, and a third team comes out of nowhere and takes everyone out. Well, everyone's hurt. If you don't get third teamed, the better squad should win 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and like, see, to me, I like that because like if I'm gonna play a shooter, I want it to be as realistic as possible. Now, I realize again there will be somebody to come in here and correct me on a lot of things like gravity and helio. What is it? What is it called? It's when a bullet rotates, it actually affects the way that it flies long distances, and snipers take that into account.
I get drop.
There's bullet drop, but there's also another thing.
There's some in Apex Legends.
What is it? Centrifugal force? I'm probably not using the right scientific term. But nevertheless...
You can shoot like lasers in this game, unless you're shooting from super far away.
Yeah, exactly. And like I felt like it's really balanced. And then the other thing that I like about Apex Legends is I feel like it's great for content creation. It's one of those games where I feel like it's very well suited to content creation, much like Fortnite, much like Minecraft, much like Madden. Games like that, it gets people excited. They're excited to watch it, not just play it. So, like, Apex Legends, I think, is the perfect storm.
Do you know about different characters?
What about it?
There's kind of a hidden strategy game behind where different characters have different abilities.
I did see that.
Lifeline is a medic, and every 30 seconds they can heal themselves and heal the entire squad.
Yeah.
And then you have ults and stuff like in League of Legends where like the Lifeline, for example, can call in a care package. The character I play is Lifeline. I have a grapple hook every 30 seconds, and then also I can launch a grapple hook that the whole team can use, which isn't really good, but my special ability is I heal half the time that everyone else does, so it's super useful. Then you have like Bangalore, which runs faster when shot at. So it's kind of like a strat. You can like pair characters together.
Yeah.
So Bangalore has a smoke grenade.
Yeah.
There's another character called Bloodhound. It's called Beast of the Prey, where it goes, everything's like all grayed out. Your not POV, but like your field of view is expanded. And then you can see people through the smoke and see people through the walls. So you can like pair them together. Like there's more of like a strategy than like Fortnite where no one has abilities.
I like that.
There is some RNG to it. Early game, there's a lot of RNG based off loot. But after a while, if you survive the first like 2 minutes, you should have enough weapons to survive. And then there's one gun in the game that's RNG heavy. It could be the best gun in the game or the worst gun in the game based off of a random number. It can shoot for 8 damage or it can shoot for 110. But other than that, it's mostly skill-based.
But I like that.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching Wings of Redemption play Apex Legends, and I think he's actually really good at first-person shooters. Like, I'm of the opinion that if there's one thing he's good at when it comes to video games, it's being accurate shooting a virtual gun. And he was mopping the floor with people in it. Like, and when I see somebody like that play Apex Legends for the first time, and this is somebody who's good at games that are strong on gunplay, to me that means, hey, you did something right with your game. Like that, at least that one aspect.
I'm a strong COD player, and I've played Apex. It came out, I can give you the exact release date, a little over a month ago, and I have like 60 to 80 wins. And like I have wins where like I'm playing, it's 3-man squads, which is kind of annoying. They're adding solos and duos. 3-man squads, and even if I have one friend, like if we played right now, it would pair us with a random person.
Yeah.
So me and this one dude, we play every night. So we get paired up with trash. I tweet about it if you haven't seen it. We get paired with trash people, to where like me and him will both have 10 kills, and our teammate will literally have 0 damage, and do nothing in the game.
Well, that would be me. I'd be in there.
Which is also saying if me and my friend play with you, we could carry you to a win if you really want it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I really should.
Apex Legends came on the 4th.
I should.
The day after.
Probably just download it. Just give it a shot. I mean, it might make for at least one fun stream. Or maybe a cool video or something.
Speaking of updates, I did write down everything I've done this year. Like, points of interest of this year.
Escape Room. Murray vs. Belmont.
Trash movie. Okay. Murray is a local college basketball team. They have John Morant. He's supposed to go second overall in the draft. I went to a game, but they got destroyed. Then I went to a Kings-Grizzlies game.
Yeah.
Then Velvet Buzzsaw came out, a movie Netflix original. Garbage. Russian Doll TV show on Netflix. Okay, and that's all. There's some sports stuff in there too.
So Apex Legends, pretty good, and Andy's convinced me that I should download it and give it a shot. So I think I'm gonna do that after I get done
Monday or
this.
Tuesday or whatever, whenever there's no weekend league. We should stream it.
Dude, I hate weekend league.
Whenever you want, I can stream it.
Before we get off of video games for good, I just want to say this about Madden. It's been 4 months since the last podcast, and I gotta tell you, man, they've ruined this game, man. Like, they've ruined the game. This last update is awful. I don't even like playing the game anymore, and the unwillingness to fix anything by EA is just unacceptable. If I paid money for the game this year, I would be very upset. And I realize that negativity usually drowns out positivity on social media. I totally get that. I even think, and my friends are tired of hearing me say this, and I'm sure listeners are tired of hearing me say it too. I think as a society, we are entirely too cynical. In general, we are entirely too cynical about everything. We like to see stuff fail. We like negativity. We like drama. We reward bad behavior. I mean, it's unbelievable how cynical and negative we are as a society. But my God, EA deserves all the criticism they're getting. I actually saw somebody go back and start playing Madden 17. They're like, I like this game better than Madden 19. That's real. Yeah. Shout out to Throne. That guy's awesome. But man, I just, this last update, I ran a QB just to show you guys how broken it is. And if you're not a football person, maybe it won't make sense to you. But if you know anything about football, you know how ridiculous this is. I ran a QB sneak in my last Madden live stream, and I got 6 yards. A defensive player...
That was cheese back in the day.
Yeah, a defensive player grabbed my QB at the line and, pulled him in this weird tackling animation forward, and he stumbled for 6 yards. And I tweeted at their community manager and never got a reply. I mean, that's the worst part about it, is they never come out and say we screwed up and the gameplay is broken. They never say that. They bury their heads in the sand, and they're always wanting to talk about the next card that's coming out. Buy packs. Well, I don't think they're QA testing there, but that's just my personal opinion, because I run QB sneak almost every game. It comes up almost every single game. So if you have a group of QA testers, somebody's running QB sneak, or should be. Yeah. And they would immediately find out, this is broken. But nevertheless, that's my rant on Madden. Well, you know what? This year, before this patch, it was not cheese. If you knew it was coming, you could pinch your line, you could hit the right gap, and they would get either a short loss or a very, 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 very short gain, and they wouldn't get in the end zone.
Madden 17, you QB sneaked, and then the second you hiked the ball, you told your quarterback to lateral it. He did a swim move past the center, and it was 3 yards every time.
Yeah, I don't know, man. EA, you got to fix your stuff, man. They need competition. It's just more.
Breaking news!
What's the breaking news?
Right now, Ian Rappaport tweeted, the Steelers are closing in on a deal to send wide receiver Antonio Brown to the Buffalo Bills. Breaking news.
That's for revenge, dude.
He sent him to the Bills.
That's mean, but I get it.
The worst team in the NFL, arguably.
They might have been willing to put up the most assets to get him.
Yeah.
He's under contract for 2 more years, if I'm not mistaken. So
he's one of the best wide receivers in the league.
Yeah, I mean, if the Bills are going to overpay for him compared to other teams, send him to the Bills. You don't have a reason to trade him where he wants to go. You don't have to do anything for him. But that's just my opinion. The Steelers situation is really ugly lately, but I'm not a Steelers fan, and I'm not going to claim to be. So my wife's upset, though. She's a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
So moving on from video games, Captain Marvel came out. Andy?
Yeah, today.
You're in the movie theater business. Any thoughts on Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel, 2019. It's a great movie. I love Captain Marvel. He's the best superhero in the world. He's the one of the best wide receivers in the league. Yeah. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league.
You're in the movie theater business. Any thoughts on Captain Marvel?
Oh my god. I left before the movie started, but I work tomorrow. Fortunately, box office, not concessions. But I sold as a box office person that got off at 5 and the first movie started at 7. I sold maybe like 400 tickets to Captain Marvel.
So is that a good turnout or a?
Oh, that's a
Sounds
theater
good.
holds about 230.
Well, I mean, if it makes money, it makes money. I guess that's the thing. I thought it was interesting that they put that review embargo up. I thought it was interesting that they took down the interest percentage that users can put up on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought that was an interesting move, almost as if they're trying to protect something.
It's insanely incredible how Disney has brainwashed people to accepting mediocrity.
Well, I stopped watching the movies. I fell way behind. My wife wants to go back and watch them all. But the problem is she never wants to take the time to do it, and neither do I. And they're always incredibly long movies. They're always almost 2 hours long, and they don't need to be. And I've said it a billion times, and I know, again, people are probably tired of hearing it. I hate when movies go over 2 hours. I just can't stand. It's too much, man. You could cut some of that nonsense. You could cut some of that filler. It doesn't have to go that long. I get it if it's something like, epic, right?
Epic movie, great movie. No, I'm kidding.
God. Ooh, those are bad memories
it has
right there, man.
2.3 on IMDb.
It's pretty bad, and that's coming from a guy who likes Freddy Got Fingered. Come on now.
I remember having that movie on DVD, and if you didn't select anything, there was like a beaver that yelled at you. It has a 2% Rotten Tomatoes.
That actually sounds like something that might have been the most entertaining part of that DVD. But yeah, man, I just, I felt like it was, I don't know, like what kind of turned me on from Captain Marvel, and this is probably kind of petty of me, which is interesting because I had somebody call me petty recently and it really ticked me off.
Yeah.
But I feel like the people that are going to see this movie were really adamant in saying, like, it's not meant for your audience. It's not meant for a white, straight male. So don't go see it. You're not supposed to go see it.
Cisgendered male.
Yeah, well,
it's for women.
I actually wanted.
They've never made a movie ever for women, especially a couple years ago about this woman that was wonderful.
Well, I saw Wonder Woman and I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, but I still liked it.
As much as I'm roasting Marvel right now, I'm going to say it before. Daniel, your movies aren't that good too, bud.
Why you got to go there now?
I'm just saying. I'm not being a DC fanboy Marvel hater.
Don't wake
They're all
that
bad.
Don't
all bad.
Don't wake the sleeping dog on that one, man. That you'll face a fury the likes of which you've never seen. I don't really care.
The movie's good.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really gotten too much into the superhero movies. Certainly not as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
So I really liked, and I still think, the Tobey Maguire, the trilogy of the original Sony, Sam Raimi, I think, was the guy behind it.
Best adaptation of Venom, and I still stand by it.
Well, I disagree with that, but I will say I feel like those were the best Spider-Man movies they've made to date. I gave the new one a chance. I really wanted to like it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, but I still thought it was okay.
Homecoming or Venom?
Homecoming. Venom I haven't seen yet, but I really want to see it because I love Tom Hardy. I love Tom Hardy, so I think he might be able to redeem it. The newest Fantastic Four movie was really disappointing to me. I wanted it to be good. I got halfway through it, and Ashley looked at me and she goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I realize that I'm an hour into this and it's not going to be good." And that makes me sad because I think a good Fantastic Four movie is absolutely possible with those characters. I just don't know that Disney's the people to give it to us, but that's a whole separate conversation. I haven't gotten into the superhero movies that much, and I certainly don't get the minutia of the bias, because like DC people say Marvel people are biased, and Marvel people say DC are biased, and like the critics are bought out and they're paid for and all that. And I don't understand any of that, and I don't claim to, and I don't have any interest in it whatsoever because I don't really like the movies that much. But you know, like if I'm gonna want, but you'll see later when I give you my 2018 movie of the year, you're gonna be like, Alex, you have crappy taste in movies. So there you go.
I mean, I'm not saying Captain Marvel's gonna be bad, but besides a few outliers, every single Disney-made movie is a guaranteed. I'm gonna rate it between 4 and 6.
They're not films. They're not great films that'll hold the test of time. They're action movies. It's no different than the Schwarzenegger movies and the Stallone movies in the early 90s and late 80s.
Those have rewatchability. These don't.
Some. But when's the last time you watched Last Action Hero?
I've watched Total Recall several times.
You know, nobody... Okay, Total Recall, it's different. But, I mean, there were a lot of really kind of...
I've never rewatched a Marvel movie, I'll say that.
Well, I don't care to. I mean, I think I've watched Black Panther once. My wife watched it a couple times.
I watched Guardians of the Galaxy twice. That's one of the outliers. I like that movie.
Well, I like those movies too. They did a good job with those. So yeah, Captain Marvel. Hope it does well for the people that are involved. I hope they make money and they get paid and all that. But I don't really have any interest in it.
It's not made for us, so
I've already been. Yeah, it hasn't been. It's not made for us, and I'm not supposed to go see it. So I will gladly comply with that request. I was told not to see it based on my gender, race, and orientation. So I will gladly stay home and watch more Star Trek or something.
Did you ever watch The League?
The TV show? It's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I've watched it at least like 3 or 4 times through.
Do you remember Brie Larson in that movie, in the TV show?
Oh, shoot. She was in it, wasn't she? Who was she?
She's Ruxin's nanny that Rafi runs the Golden Gate Bridge on.
Yeah, dude.
That's all I can think of when I see her is Rafi.
Oh my god, because I remember seeing her and I'm like,
Brie Larson.
I know her from somewhere, and then I saw some of the other movies she did, and I'm like, oh, that's where I know her from.
She's in like Kong Skull Island too.
I totally forgot that. Wow.
No.
That's some female empowerment right there.
Apparently, she's gonna be a Jedi in a Star Wars movie.
I've completely lost touch with Star Wars. I'm so far behind on that too. But I've always been more of a Star Trek guy.
That was news from the corrupted Collider.com.
Oh, by the way, before we move on to sports, Star Trek Discovery. It's an awesome show. Check it out. It's on CBS All Access. Don't be fooled just because it's only on a streaming service. It's not low budget. It's really well made.
Before we get sports, though, we do have another thing under it.
What's that?
The 2018.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 2018 awards. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with Game of the Year. So
we're doing... All right, first off, we're doing a little awards festival, I guess. Not really. Just, we haven't made it... Oh, yeah. Also, going back to the last episode, in that episode, I rated Madden a 1 out of 10, and I still stand by it. But we're doing a little awards show to whatever our favorite games and movies were last year. And favorite game of the year for me... No, I'm kidding. Red Dead Redemption 2, easily.
Red Dead Redemption 2. That's a good choice, Andy. I did not play Red Dead Redemption 2 at all. I will probably pick it up at a later date. Because right around the time that Red Dead came out, there was another game that was coming out that I knew I would be just burying myself in. And that is my 2018 Game of the Year. And that's Forza Horizon 4 for the Xbox One and PC. Yeah.
That's not what I expected.
Narrowly edges out what were you expecting?
Azeroth?
No, because you know what? I'm gonna limit myself here, and I'm gonna say this. And I feel like I would say that, but here's the thing. It's an expansion. It's not a full game. And I know Andy's been saying that for forever, but like I can't give it Game of the Year because it's an expansion. And also, like, Honorable mention, if I had to pick another game for any other reason, I would give it to Smash Ultimate on the Switch. That
Honorable
game
mention,
is unbelievable.
Pokemon Let's Go.
I've been watching my wife play it. It's pretty tight. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always hate when people do honorable mentions because I feel like it's like kind of a low-key way to say, like, well, you know, I'm going to give you 2 games instead of just one. But, like, I got to give Smash a shout-out because it's such a well-done game. And I've loved it. And it's gotten me playing my Switch more than ever. Whereas there were times after I finished Mario Odyssey, there wasn't a lot that I was using my Switch for. Although Mario Party is really good too if you're a Switch person. So moving on to movie of the year. Andy, what is your 2018 movie of the year?
The most disrespected movie at the Oscars. This female lead actress, should have won actress, best female actress of the year. Okay. Extremely disrespectful. This movie got 0 nominees. And it's incredible. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I rated it 10 out of 10 on IMDb. Absolutely love this film. It's very how do I put? What's the word where like a lot of people like it and a lot of people dislike it, but there's no one in between. Like, you know what I mean?
Divisive. It's a divisive film,
I guess. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people love it. Like, a lot of people really hate it. Like, I was selling tickets for this movie. Someone walked out and was like, yeah, please don't tell anyone to watch that movie. They try to buy a ticket, tell them no. But I've already seen it, and I love the movie. And the one I'm talking about is Hereditary by Ari Aster.
Okay.
Lead actress Toni Collette. It's a horror movie, and it's probably the best horror movie in this decade. It's really good. I highly recommend it to everyone. If you know, you won't get messed up by things because there is some really disturbing content.
Well, now I want to check that one out. I didn't see a lot of movies in 2018. I looked at a list of movies in 2018, and I'd seen so few.
Yeah.
It's kind of bad, and you know, for that I apologize.
I mean, I could give you this code or to the audience to watch it digitally.
You know,
depends on if you.
I might steal that code because I've been trying to buy more 4K Blu-rays, and what I do like about 4K Blu-rays is they come with that digital code, and I like it because my wife can watch it anywhere she goes. So, you know, it's kind of cool for that reason and that reason alone. But my movie is going to seem really awful compared to Andy's because, like, Andy put thought into it and saw an actual film that's, you know, people are going to be watching forever. Mine was Incredibles 2. And there's Andy's reaction to that.
Sorry if I was a little way. I got a honorable mention now that we're doing that.
But I really liked Incredibles 2, and I thought it was great. And
the first one's the greatest superhero movie ever made.
So I love the first one, and I think that really. It's timeless. I really do. Like, I think it's a timeless movie. I think it's one of Pixar's. Actually, I'll even say this: it's my favorite Pixar movie. Period. Like, I love the Incredibles franchise, and I thought Incredibles 2 was just. It was hilarious. It was well done. The animation was great. Told a good story. I hope they do a third one. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they'll be able to get all those people back to do another voice acting thing, but yeah, mine is Incredibles 2. If I had to give a second movie, I would tell you I really enjoyed Fantastic Beasts 2. I thought that was a great movie.
Where have to find them?
What is it?
I don't know
what do they call it? Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald.
Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah, I mean, So I recently really got into Harry Potter movies because of my wife, and I watched them all. And then we watched Fantastic Beasts 1, and then we watched Fantastic Beasts 2, and they're great. I can't say enough about those movies. I think they're really cool and like this nice little offshoot of the Harry Potter. But yeah, Incredibles 2, man. Top notch.
Off the top of my head, For Incredibles 1 about the best Pixar movie.
Yeah.
The movie that I would say would upset it, I found out is not a Pixar movie because I'm not good at remembering which is Pixar and which is Disney. So I would agree with that. So apparently, according to this list, my favorite Disney movie is Hercules.
Yeah.
Because that's Disney, not Pixar.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick like an old school Disney hand-drawn animated movie, I would probably tell you, and I know this is such an unpopular choice because I don't think people I liked it because I was a kid and I watched it like crazy. Robin Hood. The Disney animated version of Robin Hood is excellent, and I highly recommend going back and watching it. And the cool thing about those animations, the hand-drawn stuff, is it always holds up to the test of time. But I kind of missed the hand-drawn animation. I realized that it just didn't... It became less and less financially lucrative for them to do it. I think that's the reasoning I was given for why they kind of did away with it. But, like, I mean, that version of Lion King, to me... Yeah. Timeless classic, like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, like those were huge events when I was a kid.
My honorable mention is kind of similar. It should have won Best Animated Movie of the Year. It most definitely should have won Best Score of the Year at the Oscars. The best score of the year at the Oscars was the soundtrack, the Black Panther soundtrack. This is an actual score.
Yeah, I think that soundtrack shouldn't count, but that's just Alex.
This movie's incredible. It's stop motion. So it's similar to the hand-drawn thing. It's stop motion, the whole movie, and there's CGI on top of it. But this movie's absolutely incredible. It's Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs.
Oh, I did see
which is super cool
ads
Blu-ray.
for that, yeah.
Which I can flash the digital code on screen again if you want to steal it or anyone at home.
I got bad news for the viewers. I'm probably going to steal that one too.
There's the code. This movie's incredible. I highly recommend it. Amazing soundtrack.
So there you go. 3 months late. There's our 2018 Game of the Year, Movie of the Year.
And I was going to do Athlete of the Year, but I couldn't think of one off the top of my head. So if you want to do an Athlete of the Year.
My Athlete of the Year?
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I would go with Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, UFC fighter, upset pound for pound one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time, and Demetrius Johnson. So
my Athlete of the Year would be Christian Yelich. I felt like he had one of the best single seasons in modern baseball.
Yeah.
In a new city after being traded. You know, without him, the Brewers don't make that deep run. Yeah. It would have been worthy of a movie.
Of cheaters.
It would have been worthy of a movie had they won the World Series. And like at the very end of the movie, it would like be just me sitting here crying, weeping that Christian Yelich went on to win a World Series.
MVPs. The past two NL MVPs were on the Marlins at one point at the same exact time.
Derek Jeter's running them into the ground, dude. I truly believe the conspiracy theory that he may want to run them into the ground so they relocate. Where they would relocate to, no clue. I don't know. Again, it's a conspiracy theory, but my God. I don't feel like they're, last year I don't feel like they fielded a very competitive team. This year I feel like even more so. You know what really pissed me off about that before we move on to NFL talk here? What pissed me off about it on Twitter, and I had a bunch of Philly fans come back at me and bitch and moan and all that, but after they got that trade, which to me was a swindle, okay?
Yeah.
There were people saying that he isn't that good of a catcher.
Oh, he's great.
And I'm like, y'all didn't watch this man in Miami. And I don't blame you, because who would want to watch the Miami Marlins, okay? But when he first started out, his biggest problem was he really didn't have any pop in the bat. He could get base hits, but he couldn't hit homers. Yeah. He wasn't really driving in runs, all that. So then 1 year, he works on it, he comes back, he's got that now. So he's got it all. And these Philly fans, before he even suits up, before he's even got the jersey on, they're complaining that he's not that good. And my God, be a Marlins fan for a week. Lewis Brinson batted under 200. He was under the Mendoza line, for Christ's sakes. And he's supposed to be one of the most exciting prospects in the near future for the Marlins. It's bad. It's bad. And I hate the new logo. I hate the new hat. The new hat, you can't see the logo because it's like this dark blue on a black background. It's stupid. What were they thinking? They had a perfect design in the old school Florida Marlins hat. And I even liked the Jeffrey Loria Miami Marlins overhaul with the Miami colors and the big M. I thought that looked okay. And then now we've got this weird baseball with a fish. It looks like you're ripping its rib cage out. I hate it. I know I'm going to buy one, but I hate it. So, let's move on, though. Are we going to go into sports, or are we going to do DCD Film Club?
I mean, we got to do Film Club. Same format.
Let's do Film Club and get this out of the way. So, Film Club's suggestion this week came to us from Colby.
4 months ago.
Yeah, I think it's at Colbster409 on Twitter. I could be wrong on that. I'll have to look that up, but
yeah, one of the first suggestions we ever got.
Yeah, he recommended Absence of Malice, movie that came out in 1981. Yeah, and it had Sally Field and Paul Newman in it, and I'll let Andy lead off and tell me what he thought about it, and then I'll kind of pick up from there.
It was also directed by Sidney Pollack.
Did not know that.
But I will get to my notes. As you see, there's plenty compared to, if you remember, my page full of notes on Freddy Got Fingered.
Freddy Got Fingered, you tore that movie to shreds.
So first off, the start of the movie, they're like speaking of Joey Diaz.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Coco Diaz fan. Love the comedian. He's hilarious, dude. Does a great podcast. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, he is real good.
Coco Diaz. So that's the only note I wrote throughout the movie. I didn't finish the movie, I'll be honest. I told Alex about this whenever I joined the call, because I was kind of watching the movie late, and I skipped like the last 5 minutes. I was like, I get it.
3 of those minutes is the outro and the credits and all that.
Yeah.
So,
my notes are, movie is extremely long and hard to sit through. And it has the one thing that most people can agree is the worst thing that a movie can be, and it's boring. I'm not gonna give my review yet because we can go at the same time. But I wrote down, we got finessed into watching a Hallmark garbage film. Sorry, Spoon. And this is the punishment we deserve for canceling the podcast.
Yeah, I do feel like it is, in a weird way, some kind of punishment from Colby preemptively. Somehow he figured it all out, mathematically. So I have always found Sally Field off-putting. And I think part of that is due to the fact that she played such a jerk in Mrs. Doubtfire. That's the only thing I can come up with. But I've never really liked her. I've always found her a little bit abrasive to me. I don't know if that's just how she acts. I don't know if it's the way that she's cast. I'm not sure. So going into this movie, I was like, Sally Field, not sure about that. Paul Newman, obviously Hollywood legend, so that was great. I liked the storyline. I liked the themes that it explored. So, was it a little bit too long? Yes. That's the one drawback that I had. Because, as I said earlier, this was, I think, just under 2 hours. I think it was 1 hour and 56 minutes. So, that was a little bit tough to swallow that pill. But I did like the story. It was a little bit hard to follow at first, just because of the way that it was positioned. But I did like the themes that it explored in terms of media overreach,
Yeah.
media's responsibility in reporting, and how irresponsibility in reporting and media overreach and or speculation, and by speculation I mean literally making things up,
Yeah.
or spinning things for political gain, can cause tremendous harm to people's personal, professional, or both aspects of their lives. And I won't ruin some of the things that happen, but like at the end of the movie, you're left with all this damage done by rumors, speculation, misreporting, borderline untruthful reporting, and deception from people that are dealing with the press. The other theme that I really liked about this movie, and what made it to me a movie that aged well, because like a lot of times you'll be going through a movie like this and you're like, okay, it like most kids don't know what a printing press looks like. They don't really think about newspapers too much.
Yeah.
You know, because nowadays media is mostly television and the internet. But what is kind of timeless about the movie is how politicians will manipulate the media for their own political gain or personal gain or both. And this movie really explores that idea and shows how two people in particular purposefully manipulated the media to try and get something out of it financially or politically or from their professional standpoint. And I think that's incredibly relevant today. So that's one thing that I will give it, is that it is rather timeless in the way that it explores these themes that are, it's the oldest story. I mean, you could go back, it's crazy. People think like right now, because we live in a country that is so divided between the right and the left, people think that the media manipulating things, formulating things, making things up, fake news, they think that's a new concept. It's as old as our country, man. You go back to the early days of our country, the first presidential elections, it was a mudslinging fest. Like, they were making stuff up about each other. There was slander. There was libel. People went to jail over it. It's crazy, bro. It's been around forever, and the media gets manipulated. And I did like that aspect of it, and that's why overall, while it was a little long-winded, and while there were some aspects that really kept, there's like two things, again, I'd spoil it if I tell you what they are, but there were two questions to the movie that throughout the movie I'm like, I'm going to keep watching because I want to get an answer to what happened here on these two specific topics. Yeah. And that kind of kept me going through it. So overall, I would probably say it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was boring like Andy did, but at the same time, it was a little bit, it did run a little long. So overall, I think it's worth watching just for those two themes that I talked about. And I think that it's still relevant for that reason alone. But if you take that out, I agree with Andy. If you take those two things out, or if you were to watch it and maybe you don't pick up on those things because it's kind of subtle how they do it, you just go, this is kind of like a little romance Hallmark movie, you know, like, or a Lifetime movie. Like I could see somebody watching it and thinking that. Yeah, I mean, so.
I mean, I noticed like that stuff. It just didn't intrigue me.
I know you noticed it, but it's just like it didn't keep you intrigued.
Yeah.
Right? Some people don't care. Or some people just doesn't interest them as much. I mean, I like Freddy Got Fingered. So, I mean, shoot, I got all kinds of... The only person... Shout out to Dumbest Sphinx, by the way. He actually watched it, and he's like, I did watch it, and it wasn't that bad.
When did he watch it? Like, how long ago?
Like a week ago. A week ago. He's like, I went back, I found it, I watched it. It wasn't that bad, but it still wasn't good. So, Andy, on a 10 scale, what would you give it?
Well, I assume by our reviews, it's going to continue the trend of I always have a a lesser rating than you.
I would almost certainly.
I gave it a 3 out of 10.
So my rating was a 5.5 out of 10. I thought it was barely above average, but I would recommend someone watching it one time. And if you're a Sally Field fan or a Paul Newman fan, definitely check it out.
So
The trend continues.
The trend continues.
Yeah.
Maybe not next week, because I'm picking out what was promised back then was a good movie that hopefully none of y'all have seen. It doesn't help the availability portion. I'm sorry about that. I don't think it's on Netflix. I don't think it's on Hulu. I don't think it's on any streaming services besides paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me quickly Google. Yeah, apparently it's on Hulu. So shout out to you Hulu subscribers.
Oh, look at that.
But it's $3 on YouTube, $3 on Amazon Prime, Google Play, Vudu, $4 on iTunes, and let me quickly check if it's not Primeable. So shout out to Hulu users. Hopefully it's still on Hulu. I'm not going to go through and check. My movie recommendation I actually own on Blu-ray. It is A Fistful of Dollars, a classic Clint Eastwood movie from 1967, maybe. It's part of a trilogy. If you want to check it out, it's a great trilogy. The Sergio Leone trilogy. And it's just a masterpiece. You know? It's a great movie. And the reason I was going to recommend it because Red Dead Redemption reminded me of it back then. And also, I wanted to recommend a good movie because we went from Gerald's Game, which was not highly reviewed amongst us and the fans.
Yeah, the Gerald's Game.
Freddy Got Fingered, which wasn't reviewed highly amongst us, to Absence of Malice. So hopefully you guys enjoy this if you go through and watch it. It's a great overall movie, and hopefully it inspires you to watch all three of them. They're all great spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, those spaghetti westerns to me, like, I feel like they're timeless, but I realize I'm also biased because I watched them when I was a kid, and I hate to do this. I'm trying to look up right now on Hulu if that movie's available on there.
Yeah.
So I'm not ignoring you, Andy. It's just I actually can't remember my password for Hulu right now.
I mean, I could check it. It is 99 minutes long, so it doesn't cover your 2-hour thing.
Wait. I just got in. Oh, look at that. Because I was going to say, if you can...
It is on Hulu. I checked.
It is? Oh,
Yep.
Look at that. It's right up there. It's listed as a classics
also,
movie.
For a few dollars more, the sequel to it's on there. But the absolute masterpiece of the trilogy isn't on Hulu, it doesn't look like. Which is The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly.
Well, of course, because they know that you'll probably buy that one. Because, I mean, that's like kind of the one that everybody still talks about. So yeah, if you're looking for it on Hulu or you don't want to pay for Hulu, pro tip from your buddy Alex, go ahead and just create an email address on Yahoo and do a free trial. I did it like 5 or 6 times before Hulu eventually caught me. Yeah. Then my wife was like, "We need Hulu for Grey's Anatomy. We're going to pay for it." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll get the budget one." She's like, I don't like commercials.
Thought of an idea.
Yeah.
For a free way for the fans to watch it.
What's that?
It's not necessarily legal.
And you lectured me, I think, on DCD 17 for giving somebody a direct link to it, but...
No, not that. I can privately stream it on YouTube and provide the link via Discord.
There you go, dude. It'll be the ultimate DCD fan club experience.
And you can watch the movie with me.
Yeah. You gotta have your face cam in the corner.
Yeah. You can watch the movie with me. Or Alex, he can be in Discord also.
Be like a 90-minute reaction
99-minute reaction video.
Yeah.
And after that, we can watch, some other good stuff, maybe.
This guy followed me on Instagram.
All right.
I'm gonna get completely off topic here, but that's Absence of Malice, everybody. Before we get into our next topic, I want to talk about how sometimes I get depressed as a content creator, and here's why. This guy follows me on Instagram. He's got a reaction channel, and he basically, all he does is he holds up his cell phone, and they have an app where it basically puts your face in the corner of the screen. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It puts
Yeah, it screen records and then...
Yeah, it screen records, but it puts the video in the very lower right-hand corner of the screen, really tiny. And he's just sitting there, and he just watches it. Like that. Since there's only the video version of this podcast, you know exactly what my face looks like. It's just like this blank stare. Right? And then...
Will this be on audio only?
No.
So it's just YouTube?
For right now, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see how this does before we do any kind of commitment like that. So
is there a chance to give it to the fans?
What is it? What?
Are you saying there's a chance there'll be a DCD 20?
There's a chance. There's a chance. So, but yeah, so this guy follows me on Instagram, and he's so hardcore about sub for sub. Like, he posts dozens of things a day.
You know they're against that on YouTube now? You get banned if you comment about sub for sub?
Yeah, and I will admit this, and it's embarrassing to admit it. When I first started out on YouTube, I did sub for sub because I didn't know any better. Yeah. But after about a week, and when I say I did sub for sub, I think I gained maybe 10 subs doing this. After a week, I found out it doesn't help your channel at all.
You don't get views from it?
You don't get views. It hurts you in the algorithm. So, yeah.
All right, when I started, I didn't do sub for sub, but I would go to other content creators and be like, hey, I want you to check out my video and see what you think about it. And fun fact for you fans, I did that for maybe a couple days, and Giraffe Neck Mark, back when they had about 800 subs, was like, hey man, that's not cool, and explained why. I never did it again.
How is that not cool?
It's like you're self-advertising in people's chat and people's comments.
Oh, in the comments, it's not cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and like
I was thinking like maybe you DM'd him on Twitter.
No, I was like in the comments like, hey man, check out my channel.
I get that. I mean, like, hey,
he talked to me in DMs, and we were like, he's like, yeah, it's not cool and all that.
Yeah, we all make mistakes. When I dare anybody who's a content creator to say that they don't make mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days.
Yeah, it's the truth though. And like, anyway, back to this guy. So he's like really, really big on the sub for sub thing. And I've always been against it. I've always told people, don't do it. It doesn't work for you. You're not going to gain subs. It's those people almost immediately unsub. No lie, dude. This guy skyrocketed in 2 months. He's got 2,500 subscribers. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. This guy's killing it. Now, granted, he gets like 12 views a video.
Like
with
me.
2,500 subs. But
like me.
Well, shoot, dude. I mean, I'll put out a vlog and like it'll get 100 views, a good one. On average, it'll get like 70 or 80, and it kind of trickles up from there. It's pretty crazy, man. Like how many subs you can have, and you put out a video and it gets so few views. Somebody once told me, if you have 10,000 subs and only like 20 people are watching you, that's 9,980 people that are ignoring you. So, I don't know. Just a fun fact for you. Apparently, sub for sub does work, but now apparently YouTube is banning people for it. So
yeah, did you know about that?
What?
Did you know about that before I said it?
I did see someone on Twitter talking about it because Keemstar was making a video about it.
Yeah.
But
another fun statistic about YouTube. It's a statistic that it's also a Vsauce video about it. So you know it's reliable.
Yeah.
The 80-20 principle. To where 80% of the words that everyone says are 20% of the words of the dictionary. And there's so many things like that. Like your YouTube channel, 80% of the content consumed is by 20% of the audience.
That sounds about right. That really does sound about right. And then like one thing that I've noticed is a huge amount of views that I get are people that aren't subbed and won't sub.
Very annoying.
Or found this out too. a lot of the reason they show up as someone who's not subbed is because they're not actually signed into a Google account. So they kind of know where they're from geographically based on IP address, but other than that, you have no other information on them. So I don't know, man. YouTube's weird sometimes. We could do a whole podcast where I just talk about analytics and like what I've done to try and grow my channel, what's worked and hasn't worked. It's pretty crazy, man. Like at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says, and I'm sure there'd be somebody out there who'd be like, I knew exactly what I was doing, and that's how I got to 50,000 or whatever. Like, dude, you're just throwing stuff against the wall and just seeing what sticks. Like, even when we were doing this podcast, I feel like we were doing the same thing. We were just trying different stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. We kept the stuff that worked, and we got rid of the stuff that didn't. Anyway, moving on. Let's go to sports before we wrap up here.
Another recap between from last time. We did already talk about Antonio Brown, so we're up to date on NFL news, unless OBJ magically gets traded, even though I highly doubt it will.
Nah. Why?
So, NFL free agency. Just a quick recap of who do you want the Bucks to go out there and sign? Any key names or anything?
So after signing Donovan Smith, they only have $7 million in cap room. So
you go and think of a Jeff Kuhn for all that money.
He's retired.
You convince him with the $7 million, like 1 year, fully guaranteed $7 million contract.
So with the Bucks, I feel like there isn't much they can do with the money that they have. Yeah. It'll be a couple small pieces. I realize that there are ways that they could free up some cap space, like releasing Gerald McCoy, which I hope they don't do, or releasing Deshaun Jackson, which again, I hope they don't do. Because I think that releasing or trading Deshaun Jackson, you're not going to get anything with that $10 million in cap space or whatever you get back in a trade. You're not going to get anything that's going to help you more than having him on the squad. So for me, really what I want them to do is try to keep Quan Alexander. That's what I would want them to do. Try to keep it because he's a free agent. Keep him because I think he's a valuable piece of that defense. I know that they're supposed to be switching to a 3-4. It's like a 3-4-4-3 hybrid is from what I've heard. So maybe they don't want Quan Alexander anymore. I've also heard that they're maybe shopping Levante David in a trade scenario. I hope that doesn't happen. I really the ideal scenario for me as a Bucks fan is that they bring that same team back. I like them re-signing Donovan Smith. I think he's a very big part of that O-line in the future. But I think that you don't cut McCoy. You bring back Quan Alexander. You don't trade Levante David. You bring that same team back, and you draft almost entirely defensive players. And you try to improve that defense through the draft. Who do you want with fifth overall pick? Greedy Williams.
Absolutely amazing combine.
If I saw mocks where he was going lower.
Yeah, I saw him going around 20.
Okay. So if I'm the Bucks, I trade down, and I pick up assets because they need people. They need assets. So I would trade down. I think he's the best corner in the draft. I think that last year they should have taken Derwin James instead of Vita VA. And Derwin James had a terrific year in San Diego. And he would have been great for those Bucks last year because their secondary was trash. And their safety play was better than their corner play, but that's not saying much. So this year, I want them to trade down. If they can trade down, get Greedy Williams. There's some tempting players, man. Like the combine this year was a lot of fun. Like DK Metcalf looks like unbelievably good. I think he's going to go really high. Whereas initially I think he was going to go later in the first round. I think he's going to go in the top of the first round. He looks great. But I just don't feel like the Bucks need that player right now. They need defense. So Andy, as a 49ers fan,
on the opposite end of the spectrum,
we
have $65 million to spend in cap room.
Oh, Jesus. It's crazy.
So we can get whoever we want, realistically. I want Earl Thomas. That's really one of the main ones. Give us Earl Thomas.
For real?
Reunite with Richard Sherman. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, why not go out and possibly, if you don't get Earl Thomas, Eric Weddle's out there. I mean, he doesn't play the same position. Landon Collins helps with the team. There's a linebacker hole. Play Landon Collins at linebacker.
No, I wouldn't even do that. I'd play him at strong safety.
Like, we have so much money. Please, for the love of God, get a wide receiver. In the draft, the wide receiver depth is horrible. Running back, we're good. Quarterback, obviously, we were great. You know, we got the best backup quarterback in the league and top 10 quarterback when he's healthy.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are in a really good position right now. I think they're
also
smart.
get corners. We really need corners.
Yeah, but that's a lot of cap space, man.
Yeah. Really want Earl Thomas. Rumors of picking up like KJ Wright, another XCX player. Obviously, we're not getting Antonio Brown anymore because, you know, he's on the Bills.
Yeah.
But with second overall draft pick, it looks like it's shaping up the best scenario possible.
Nick Bosa.
Kyler Murray is going over first overall, and we're getting our star defensive end to completely revolutionize the defense. Where, like, DeForest Buckner is great, but we don't have that main edge piece that's going to get to the quarterback. And Nick Bosa is better than Joey. Slightly better than Joey.
Which is saying a lot because Joey's a huge, huge impact player for those Chargers.
He's going to be... it's going to completely change the defense, top down.
Yeah, man. If they end up getting Nick Bosa, I think that's huge.
What Khalil Mack impacted to the Bears. Edge rusher adds a lot to your team when you have an elite edge rusher.
Yeah, I like the Bears, man. I like the way they're set up. I like Trubisky. Yeah. I like that defense. When I see people trashing the Bears, I'm like, you could say that, man, but that Bears team is going to be around for years. As a Bucs fan, I'm jealous, man, because I miss the old days, the old Tampa 2, where the Bucs had a strong D and a decent offense, and they could put points up. They wouldn't light you up, right?
Yeah.
But they could put points up, and they could beat you with defense, and I miss those days, and that's why last year I had a hell of a time watching the Bears.
Yeah.
They were one of the best teams to watch. They're so fun to watch. Adrian Amos is amazing. Guy's a freak. He can hit you hard, and he's ungodly fast. Like
Khalil Mack's really fun to watch.
Oh my! It's unfair.
Yeah,
it's unfair to watch.
The offense, the college style offense, is fun to watch.
Khalil Mack, Khalil Mack reminds me so much of guys like J.J. Watt, Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, where like you're not gonna. You can block him, but you're just kind of holding him back for a little bit. Like, he's going to get through you eventually.
He was Defensive Player of the Year until Aaron Donald unfathomable numbers this year.
Aaron Donald's so good. He's so good. And anybody who's denying it, watch some film, and you'll just see all
literally the best player in the NFL.
All
offense,
the
defense.
Little things that he does. Like, to me, he's like Gerald McCoy, where like a lot of things Gerald McCoy does don't show up on a stat sheet.
Yeah.
So he's that.
And then he has the stats to back him up.
Yeah, he's basically that times 10. Like, even when he's not big on the stat sheet, Aaron Donald's doing something. He's disrupting somehow. It's crazy. J.J. Watt's the same way, where a lot of times it's like, okay, he didn't get a lot of sacks or whatever, but he was in that quarterback's face all game long. You know, their defensive line play is such a premium. So, like, this year's draft, I think, is really intriguing because there's this bountiful amount of defensive ends and edge rushers and all that. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. But overall, man, I'm looking forward to the offseason. You know, even as like the Antonio Brown to the Bills thing, like, that's hilarious. Like, that's a total FU. You know, like that. You can tell Buffalo gave them a great deal, and they were like, well, send them to Buffalo. We don't care.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is the Bills draft pick? I'm sure it's really high.
It's gotta be top 10, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 8 or 9.
They ended up winning a couple more games than I thought they would last year because Josh Allen kind of willed them to a couple wins. But
I mean, they upset some teams.
They did upset some teams.
Overall pick. Well, they gave the 9 overall pick to the Steelers.
Then they got fleeced.
To spit in Antonio Brown's face. Well, obviously more. To spit in Antonio Brown's face, they draft DK Metcalf.
I mean, here's the thing about the Steelers that I always tell Ashley. I cannot think of a single time in their franchise history where a player acted out and they said, you know what, screw it, we're the Steelers, we're getting rid of you. And they lived to regret it. I can't think of a case. Like
the Patriots are the same way.
The culture is just bigger. The franchise is bigger than any one person. And they know that.
Yeah.
And they draft so unbelievably well. Like, nobody thought TJ Watt was going to be what he is now, but Pittsburgh saw something in that guy.
Yeah.
You look at some of their pickups on the O-line, like
Bud Dupree,
Villanueva, right?
Their O-line's incredible.
That guy wasn't very highly regarded. And they picked him up late, and he's on a really team-friendly contract, and he's doing a great job. DeCastro is another one. Not on a big deal. Not highly regarded when they picked him up, but he's one of the best at his position right now. He's certainly working out for their system. Smith-Schuster. Whose radar was he on? He wasn't... If they did a redraft, Smith-Schuster would go top 10 in his draft if they were to redraft that today.
The year before when he was at USC, he was highly regarded by wide receiver, but then he fell. Sophomore year, I think. He left as a sophomore. Or, just kidding, that's impossible. I'm thinking basketball. His sophomore year, he's highly regarded.
So his junior year. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, like, they draft well. They're smart with their free agency money. They're smart when they re-sign players.
Yeah. Le'Veon Bell doesn't want to play for team. Throw in James Conner as ridiculous numbers.
There's a perfect example of a guy who, until he broke down, injuries, right?
Yeah.
But to be fair, Le'Veon Bell has a lot of injury history as well. So, he very well could have gotten injured as well last year.
They had D'Angelo Williams having incredible games for them.
Tomlin's a great coach.
Le'Veon was having, whenever Le'Veon was suspended, now D'Angelo's in TNA.
Yeah, I think that the Steelers are one of the best run organizations in football.
Yeah.
They have Tomlin, who I think creates one of the best coaching situations in all of football. I know he's received a lot of flack over the years for letting players be out of control or not being enough of a disciplinarian, right? But Mike Tomlin, one day he will retire and he will be a Hall of Famer. And he's earned that as a coach. Like, and I'm not just saying that because he came from the Tampa Bay Tony Dungy coaching tree. Like, dude, guy's awesome. Like, if he got fired tomorrow, teams would be lining up. And I would assume the Bucs would be lining up too. Kind of like where they were like, oh, Bruce Arians is interested? Oh, you're hired. Just like...
You're going to retire in like 2 years? What up, Bruce Arians?
Well, I mean, hey, man. When a coach that good is on the market, snatch him up, man. Snatch him up. And that's why I don't think Mike Tomlin gets fired in Pittsburgh unless he does something really stupid or pisses off the ownership. I just don't see it happening. Just like everybody was like, oh, they might trade Ben Roethlisberger. No, they're not. He'll be a Steeler as long as he wants to be a Steeler. Unless he does something stupid. So, Antonio Brown, hope it was worth it, man. Hope it was worth it. Because I'd darn sure rather play in Pittsburgh than Buffalo.
or play anywhere besides Buffalo.
Well, I mean, they have a hard time getting any kind of free agents. Their biggest free agent signing ever was Mario Williams. And that didn't even really work out that
They
well.
lost 4 Super Bowls in a row.
Well, that was a damn shame. Because I would have liked to see that team win one. Just for Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Don Beebe. And, God, they had so many good players. Andre Reed. God, they had so many. Bruce Smith. They had so many good players on those teams. You know, you just kind of wish they had won one. Because, like, all those guys were Bills pretty much their entire careers for the most part. Yeah, Thurman Thomas, I think he played 1 year in Miami. His last year, I think he played in Miami. But other than that, like, he was a Bill his entire career. You know, it would have been cool to see them win one. But
according to this, this is just speculation. AB is for a future pick and swapping firsts. So a future first and swapping first.
That's a good trade. That's a lot more than I thought they'd get. Because I'll tell you right now, if they're swapping firsts,
they're going from 20 to 9.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
You're going to get a much better player at 9. You get DK Metcalf at 9.
Yeah. They can get Wayne Haskins if they want.
They could theoretically take that 9th pick, trade down a little bit, and get a guy that they could do so much.
They could trade down
now.
back to 21.
Why not? You pick up more assets shoot, dude. You might as well make as much as you can make.
Yeah.
Off of an Antonio Brown.
I just think it'd be funny if they draft DK Metcalf just to spit in Antonio Brown's face.
Give him number 84.
Yeah. Give him the number and everything. Just spit in his face.
Steelers
Make him the number
fans
one
hate me
option
right now.
instantly.
Yeah. You just tell Roethlisberger, you're like,
even though Juju's amazing, no, DK Metcalf, number one option, 150 targets his rookie season.
Yeah. We need him getting targeted at least 10 times a game.
No.
At least. Just ram it down everybody's throats.
Break Antonio Brown's best season with a rookie. Just spit in his face.
Oh my God. Just so spiteful.
Just throw the like. Don't care about winning. You gotta get those DK Metcalf numbers up.
You know who really loses in all this is because the Steelers are just doing what they have to do. Like it is what it is. Like they're just doing what they have to do, and I hate.
They become a worse team.
But you know
right now.
Yeah.
But they have to do it.
But you know who really loses in all this is the fans. And that's who I feel bad for. People like my wife who, lifelong Steelers fan, loves the Steelers, watches all the games, gets incredibly upset when they lose. And she has continued to ask me throughout the offseason, what the hell is happening with Antonio Brown?
Imagine losing Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell in the same offseason.
That just happened.
2 top 3 players at their positions, arguably last year, losing both of them in the same offseason.
But to be fair, it's not that different than the Raiders situation. You have 2 guys that don't want to be there anymore, 2 guys that don't want to play there.
Yeah.
Cut your losses, man. You know, I know from playing team sports, the guys that don't want to be in that locker room are the worst guys in the locker room. They're the ones that aren't committed, that don't go that extra mile. So if somebody doesn't want to be there, you probably don't want them to be there. So that about wraps it up, I think. We're at an hour and a half.
I just a thing. It's a great time to be a fan of mine. 49ers have $1 million cap room.
Yeah.
Second overall pick. Look like we're getting Nick Bosa. The Celtics, you know, they've been slow. They were really bad after the All-Star break, and they went out and beat the Warriors in Oracle by 33 points. And Gordon Hayward drops 30 points. Then in the next night we play the Kings, and we win against a super young Kings team without Kyrie. We're playing the Lakers yesterday when this podcast comes out, and we're most likely gonna win it. And then my Bruins are on a 17-game point streak, which for someone that may not know hockey means in the past 17 games, the only time they've ever lost is in OT. How the standings work in hockey is you get 2 points if you win, or 1 point if you lose an OT. So you don't get as penalized if you lose an OT. So past 17 games, they've earned a point, which is insane. So it's a good time to be a fan.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox, coming off a World Series win.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say in that regard. Bucks stink. Marlins stink. Magic stink. Panthers probably stink. I haven't checked on them.
We beat the Panthers today.
Of course, okay. Everything sucks.
If you were a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, your team is insane.
Nope. Panthers fan.
It's unfortunate. They were good a couple years ago.
Yeah, I thought they had it in them to potentially win a Stanley Cup that one year, and then the wheels fell off after that. But
yeah.
Nevertheless, hey, it'll get better one day. The Bucks will be good again.
What's our time at?
1 hour, 35 minutes, 50 seconds.
It's a lot shorter than I thought. But that's going to be all for DCD episode number 19. If you want any more, show your support.
Yeah, really.
Tell your mom, your dad.
Tell your mom. Tell your dad.
Send us a video of you in your cafeteria at lunch screaming, yeah. Check out DCD podcast.
I would love that.
iTunes, YouTube, Spotify?
At this point, it's just going to be YouTube.
Oh, yeah, YouTube. But, if we come back, they'll be back.
Yeah, but
they try to do it on YouTube.
I would love that video, by the way. If anybody does that video,
I'll follow you on Twitter, retweet and everything.
Oh man, I wish there was something cool I could do for you. But I'll follow you. I'll DM you. I'll thank you. Yeah. All that. But I'll put the T-shirt back up on my TeePublic store. I'll make sure to put a link there. You can buy yourself a DCD T-shirt. Maybe I'll make a little reunion edition specifically for this one-off episode. Yeah. But hope you guys enjoyed it. And, just show your support if you want to see more. Seriously.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys. I don't know when. Bye.
Bye.